Hello, this is Matt Cannon with my thoughts of the day out here in nature. And I'm going to give the date today because it's a special day. It's actually February 2nd, 2020, which is considered a palindrome. A palindrome. Palindrome means that all the digits are the same both ways. So if you did it in reverse or forward, they'd all be the same. And supposedly, according to a lot of people who have studied it a lot more than myself, they say that this is the first one in over a century, and we won't have the next one until another century. And what's interesting about this one versus maybe some other ones that you've heard of is this is for both calendars. In the US, we do day, month, we do month, day, and year. In places like UK, they flip day and month. But this works for both. So it's 2/2/2020. And what I'm going to talk about today is something kind of interesting, and it's going to be called the science of the simultaneous sip. The science of the simultaneous sip. And for most of you, you have no clue what simultaneous sip is and what that's all about. The simultaneous sip, for some of you, you may know what that is. You may have came here just because you were maybe someone else who knows what the simultaneous sip pointed you here. And so the simultaneous sip is something that's been coined by a famous cartoonist. His name is Scott Adams, and he has a daily video Periscope recording that he does where he asks questions. He goes through a whole bunch of things related to politics and persuasion. I would say he's probably one of the best persuaders out there. He has a background in understanding hypnotism, and he knows how words work. He knows how things work. And today, on this palindrome, which is also Groundhog Day, I actually had the chance to talk to him. I talked to him live. I talked to him on his Periscope today, and I'll put a link in the video down below, and I'll put the time when I'm actually on the recording. But I had a chance to talk to him, and I talked to him about his simultaneous sip. And what I said is how his simultaneous sip is kind of addicting. So once you understand and you know about it, the simultaneous sip sucks you in. And now you're waiting, you're saying to yourself, when is this going to happen? Can I come in and am I going to catch it? And I had a meeting one of the other days, and the simultaneous sip was going to come up because it's usually at the same time when he does it. And in that timing, I missed it. And so I was a little bummed, but I got it later on. And today, on his recording, when he did it today, he actually didn't do it right at the beginning. So I actually talked to him a little bit about that. I said, so I just have a question. First of all, your simultaneous sip is very sticky. It's pulling me in. There's a persuasive nature of it. You get used to it. You get into a routine. It becomes a system. And now you want to hear it. You want to see what he's going to say next. And what he said in that discussion I had with him today was very interesting. And he said, science says that addiction comes through the unpredictability of rewards. So unpredictable rewards are often the driver of addiction. So when you have an unpredictable reward, it becomes kind of addictive. Now you don't know what's going to come, you don't know when it's going to come, and it becomes like an addictive cycle. And so he kind of, in one sense, he was saying that the addictive nature of it was one of the drivers for it. And so to me, that's interesting. So he says if you knew the simultaneous sip would happen every day for sure, it would be less addictive than if you had some scares or you miss one talking about the simultaneous sip. So he said those things. But in the same breath, while he said those things, he also was going into some other aspects of it. And he said that with that comes just an unpredictability. And I was thinking of that combined with some other stuff that I've been consuming lately, and that's another great mind. His name is Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger. And he did a speech in Harvard in 1995, almost 25 years ago, and he said, a whole bunch of things, interesting things, his systems. He's a famous investing partner of Warren Buffett, but he had all of these things that he was talking about, and he called them psychological tendencies, and he called it a psychology of human misjudgment. And it's way too long to get into all of that. Maybe at another time, depending on interest, I'll talk more about that. But this is one thing he said. He said, what happens when the standard psychological tendencies combine? And he used an example. He said the system of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a 50% no drinking rate outcome when everything else fails. It's a clear system that uses 4 or 5 psychological systems at once towards what he might say is a very good end. And so I find it interesting that there's patterns of persuasion. And when I talked to Scott Adams, the other thing I said is I just talked about it being this palindrome day. I kind of broke it down and I explained to him what it was. And he said that humans often find patterns when there's nothing interesting there. And it's true. We do find patterns where there's nothing interesting there. But I want to talk today about a pattern of persuasion. Patterns of persuasion. The simultaneous sip is a pattern of persuasion. It's sticky, simultaneous sip. That's why I'm naming this video The Science of the Simultaneous Sip. It's sticky. I'm just building on that same concept. And so with Alcoholics Anonymous, they use many different ways to persuade to get people to stop good and get to a good end. And like Charlie Munger said, a very good end. And so they're using these systems, these psychological systems, to change their thinking. Now, patterns of persuasion are the same way. Some people think with persuasion it's a bad thing, or you're trying to sell someone something or get them to believe something that you want them to believe. But in reality, persuasion is probably one of the most important things that you can learn about. And one of the most important things is to learn how to persuade yourself. Persuade yourself. Because we ourselves are very interesting in the sense that we want to do things like New Year's resolutions come and we want to fix stuff. We want to exercise more. We want to do this. We want to do that. And oftentimes we don't do it. Why? Why don't we do it? It's because we fail to persuade ourselves of the importance of what we want to do, the goal, or as Scott Adams also says, the system. The system that you're going to follow has to be important. It has to have a pattern that you're going to recognize. It has to be something sticky that you're going to stick with. And when you combine all these different things together, it becomes something that you're more likely to do. Something that you'll do even when it's hard. And so I want you to think about it with persuasion. I'll give you an example for me. Recently, and this is really simple, really probably kind of stupid in a way, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's a tiny little thing that's good to do, but many of us don't do it. And that is to floss your teeth. If you go to the dentist, next time you go to the dentist, they're going to ask you if you're flossing, and for probably a large percentage of people, we say no, or we say yes, or we start flossing before our dentist appointment. But flossing actually has a huge benefit to your health. It can help with your heart health, helps with reducing costly dental expenses. There's a whole host of things that it does that are good for you. And it's a powerful thing. So what I started doing is I started doing a system that helps me floss all the time. And I've done some research on it. I certainly don't know much. I have a follow-up dentist appointment coming up soon, and I'll maybe give an update on how that appointment goes. But I have my wisdom teeth, and they want to pull them out, and they've been telling me to pull them out for years, and they said that one of them is getting a cavity in the back. And so I've started flossing, and I'm noticing a noticeable improvement on my teeth. The enamel, everything looks like it's getting better. Cleaner. I could see my gums are healthier. There's a whole bunch of things related to it. And I'm almost thinking that my system of flossing may be saving me from having to get them pulled. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting your wisdom teeth pulled, other than it's going to cost money and it's going to be painful and other things. But my wisdom teeth are fully erupted, and so they're hard to get back there, but I've found a system to get back there consistently. Flossing. Simple thing. Everyone agrees it's good for you, but how many of us actually do it? Very few of us actually do it. So when you think about that very few of us actually do it, how do you get more higher adoption? you develop a system, a pattern that you can follow to go forward. And so today, as you're going about your day, realize there's patterns of persuasion. One of the most important things you'll ever learn is how to persuade yourself. Let me repeat that. One of the most important things you'll learn is how to persuade yourself. Whether it's reading, learning, exercising, flossing, whatever it is, you have to persuade yourself that it's important to do. If you don't persuade yourself it's important to do, you're never going to do it, plain and simple. And so, just like Charlie Munger and Scott Adams kind of explained how both addiction and some persuasion patterns work, you know, it puts it all into perspective. And one of the other things that I want to say is, when it comes to figuring out how that you can benefit your life, make things better, work on yourself, do lots of things, sometimes you have to have unpredictable rewards. He said that to me and it really stuck with me. Unpredictable rewards. One of the best systems that you can do is have an unpredictable reward. When I started flossing, I didn't start flossing to reverse any cavities. If I am able to reverse a cavity or reverse tooth decay or whatever, that will be an unpredictable reward. I wasn't expecting it. If I'm not, it's not a big deal. I'm not doing flossing for that reason. I'm just doing it for other reasons. I got a whole list of other reasons to do, but I won't bore you with those. But patterns of persuasion, simultaneous sip science, persuasive science, all these things are things, if you learn about them, they'll benefit your life greatly. And so on that, I'm going to sign out. This is Matt Cannon with my thoughts of the day. One last thing that I thought was kind of interesting. When I got on the call with Scott, he said my name. He said, Matt Cannon. Matt Cannon, what a name. He said, I wish my last name was Cannon. So if you wonder why I always say my name at the start and the end of these videos, maybe that's why. So this is Matt Cannon with my thought of the day, signing out.